Welcome to Success Matrix. My name is Nancy Chin Wagner, and with my help, you can network and make the quality connections you desire.
And I'm Brent Holtman. I can show you how to attract and inspire a high-performance team. Today we have Stephanie Klein, and Stephanie is the CEO and president of Experience Factor.
And one of the first questions I want to ask Stephanie is, what do you identify are your strengths?
And let me add to that, what's your greatest strength, and then what's your biggest opportunity? And what are the 3 steps that you're taking to leverage your strength in pursuit of that biggest opportunity?
Well, thank you, Nancy and Brent. And it's funny because I would say just as an aside, Experience Factor is a recruiting company. And so, if I think about what is your greatest strengths, it reminds me of like an old school interview question followed up with what are your greatest weaknesses, which, but what I think is really interesting about this question during this time is I think most of us are really questioning what our strengths are, because so many things feel out of control, and so many things and so many areas where we felt high competence, it's not working the same way anymore. And so I would say that people are probably losing touch with what their greatest strengths are, or questioning that because nothing is working as it normally will. So if I really had to, and I have, so I run a recruiting firm. We've been in business 17 years. And I would say in the last 90 days, I have questioned every single thing, my strengths, my weaknesses, what the hell I'm doing, why I'm doing it, for who I'm doing it, and if the world needs it. So tough, big, awful questions. And also, depending on your audience, it's a very vulnerable place to be, period. And it's even more vulnerable when you're leading teams, because there isn't a single CEO that doesn't have the same thoughts at 2 a.m. right now, because unless you're Jeff Bezos and you can look down at all the ways that Amazon is growing, everybody else is questioning everything. Mm-hmm. So I would say that my greatest strength is having the humility to question my greatest strength and not take what I perceived as my greatest strengths for granted, and also considering that maybe my strengths are going to be my weaknesses if I don't keep them in check. And also, I don't know, so it's very multi-layered right now. I think this is probably a unique time in history, because I'm sure, like both of you, as you're scanning the landscape try to figure out what is going on. If you're looking for good news, you could probably find some. If you're looking for bad news, you 100% can find that. And so I think my greatest strength probably now is my ability to stay adaptable and authentic and communicate with humility and transparency to everybody that I come in contact with. Because nobody knows what the hell is going on.
The uncertainty out there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stephanie, because you use some words there that I think if we kind of look at stereotypical, what's on the attribute list for a CEO, vulnerability and those kinds of words, historically didn't show up, right? But it really speaks to resilience and flexibility. And I think you used the word humility too, right? That just seems like that really invites teams to step up and lean in and to support the leaders, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the truth, Brent. And you're right in that. I think, this is not a conversation about men versus women. I think it really is just, it's staying in touch with both sides of your person. You have to be direct and take control and be and drive and move and set the pace and set the tone, but you also have to be in touch with your vulnerability, to be authentic, to have humility. And they are traits that go together. They're not mutually exclusive. And you have to know when to use which of those at the right time. But I would say if you don't have a lot of humility and are really listening more than you are talking right now, you're probably missing a lot of opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just an interesting time. In fact, so we run a recruiting firm, work with all different clients, and as a result of everything that's going on with Black Lives Matter, we're now being asked about our diversity and inclusivity practices. And I've been doing this for over 20 years. No one has ever asked me that question before. Mm-hmm. And so now as a team, we're coming together to really be more thoughtful about, well, what does that mean? And how do we support our clients with this? And we better walk the talk and talk the walk and integrate it. And we have a lot of learning and growing to do in that as well. So I don't know. I would say that biggest strengths right now from people is just the ability to listen more than you talk and have some humility and articulate that you don't have all the answers, because it's hubris to think that anyone does right now.
But I think also, Stephanie, is the ability to really be in touch with your team and for them to see how you are being the authentic and vulnerable during these times.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure sometimes it's scary because you don't have all the answers. And so you have to be willing to be vulnerable that you don't have all the answers, but hopefully you're modeling what you want your coworkers to have, so that when they're going through a tough time or they're questioning it, that they will come to you and they can lean on you and you can lean on them. Because there certainly have been times where we still get together and chat. We're Zoom calling like everybody else, and it's really easy to tell, or we really have the space for people to be like, I'm having a really bad day. I'm worried, I'm concerned, this is impacting my family, I don't know about this and that. And so that has been probably one of the blessings of this experience, is just kind of recognizing that everything is so integrated right now. We're all working from home. I have young children still here working at home, trying to find their way. My husband's downstairs, he's working from home. And we're all just trying to find the way of integrating things that we used to have so many more boundaries around. So it's the same thing for everyone that you work with. Everybody's going through the same thing.
But I agree with you. It's like a blessing in disguise to really open up what the company, your work, and your personal life with your kids and everything. I mean, it's that work balance, but being able to be available for your team.
And your family and your community and, and. So I don't know. I guess, so the strengths and the opportunities are there. I guess it's also where you put your intention and your time.
There you go.
Yeah. So I don't have any great answers today. I think I mentioned to Brent, I was trying to bend reality in a way so that I could keep focusing on the good things and keep taking steps to move us in a good direction, knowing that the steps I'm taking could absolutely be the wrong steps in the wrong direction.
But you do the best you can with what you have.
That's right.
And communicate. It's a big thing. Listening and communicating.
Yes, agreed. Yeah. So I hope that answers some of your questions.
Yeah, that's really fantastic.
How are you guys? What do you see as the opportunity in front of you? Brent?
Yeah, actually, I love how you turned that around, because that was going to be kind of a wrap-up thing I was going to throw at you. So good job.
I'm the recruiter. Do you see how it works?
I do. I guess for me, and you touched on a little bit with the quarantine and then with Black Lives Matter, there's a lot of really uncertain, really potentially inflammatory and scary things that are right in front of us there. And it's not that they haven't always been there. It's just we've never had all of the kind of business as usual stripped away to where we had to really face it. And so for me, and especially with what I do, helping all of the people, leaders and contributors and everyone really to get comfortable with the idea that we all have to show up, we all have to be genuine, and we all have to extend some kindness to one another, because the old, yeah, I'm the boss and I've got it, and if you don't like it, you can go somewhere else. Really, if it was ever a good model, it hasn't been for a really long time. And so I think we have a really great opportunity now to say, all right, back to normal is nonsense. What makes sense moving forward, we don't know yet. But if we're paying attention, we'll figure it out.
Right. And I think if we also give each other a little bit of grace, because, you, especially as a white woman of privilege, there's so much I don't understand, or so much that I didn't take time to understand. And I'm going to say things wrong. Mm-hmm. Not because I'm trying to be a bull in the china shop or offend anybody, but as I'm learning and growing, I invariably will say something stupid. And so, but that keeps people from doing anything or saying anything because they're afraid that they're going to say something stupid, which they will. Yeah. And so it's also giving people the grace to be like, your intention is good, but you chose the wrong words, and learn from that and course correct from that, and not be afraid to keep trying to be better anyway. Because it's such a public time to make mistakes. Mm-hmm. Everything is captured, everything is being recorded. So it's very hard time. It's hard to be a leader right now, for sure. Mm-hmm. Not screw it up completely. Yeah.
But we have the choice to be very adaptable to what's going on for the betterment of your team and your company.
I do think that having a growth mindset is pretty much the key, no matter what stage you are in your life.
Right.
And so many people lose touch of that as they get older.
Right. But there's things that come our way all the time. So we have to be able to adapt. It's just that this whole, in 2020, the pandemic and everything that's happening now, it's making us make these changes almost faster. Yeah. And you're right. We're not ready to say the right words. We're not ready to be out there to agree with everyone, because we have to it has to sink into our own core. And it's also when you're born. I mean, what millennials are going to be thinking different than seniors or boomers and X's and Gen Zers. So we all have to be able to work together in order to try to make the betterment of a person, like Brent was saying, being kind and being joyous and being able to help one another. And I think a lot of that has been, now coming into fruition to say, yeah, we got to do this now more so than, other people were saying in the past, because it's at that point. We've got to come together for that.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. Stephanie, I really appreciate you mentioning growth mindset, because a few weeks ago, we actually talked about fixing growth mindset on Success Matrix. And that's something that I think takes a lot of practice for most of us to even understand what that is and how to go there. And it really, I think, opens a lot of doors for a lot more inclusivity, because if I recognize that my entire life and fate and destiny isn't wrapped up in one hand that was dealt me, regardless of whether, I'm a white man of privilege or I'm a person of color or whatever, that we can all come together and say, let's shuffle the deck and redistribute those cards so that all of us ends up in a better place.
Agreed. Very much.
Someone may come out with that idea with the cards.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, for being on Success Matrix. And we're going to call it a wrap. Anything you want to add in for the last minute?
No, guys, I wish you success in your podcast, and thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.